A drunken tourist in a Pikachu costume crossed the line, mocking a Royal Guardsman, throwing coins and sneering, "You're just furniture." But the guard's response left the crowd stunned, turning mockery into a moment no one would forget. The crisp London morning blanketed the plaza outside Buckingham Palace, its regal tranquility disturbed only by the excited hum of early tourists. The sun cast a soft golden glow over the polished helmets and immaculate red tunics of the Royal Guards. Standing sentinel among them was Harry Morton, a 30-year-old guardsman with a piercing gaze and a posture so flawless it seemed carved from marble. Harry's duty wasn't just a job, it was a calling, a silent proclamation of Britain's proud heritage. Every inch of him radiated discipline and honor, the kind that felt increasingly rare in today's fast-moving, selfie-obsessed world. As usual, the square was alive with the sound of camera shutters and muffled chatter. Visitors marveled at the stoic guards, some in awe, others vying for the perfect Instagram moment. Amid the crowd, however, one figure managed to sour the scene. A man in a Pikachu costume, yes, you read that right, staggered onto the cobblestones, his movements unsteady, his voice loud enough to cut through the chatter. Clearly drunk, he waved a half-empty can of cider like a scepter, the self-appointed king of cringe. "Oi, guard!" he bellowed, pointing a wobbly finger at Harry. "Why so serious, mate? Can't even crack a smile for old Pikachu, huh?" The crowd erupted into uneasy laughter. Some pulled out their phones, sensing potential internet gold. Others exchanged wary glances, the kind that silently asked, "Is he really doing this?" Harry, of course, remained a bastion of composure. His unyielding stillness only heightened the absurdity of the scene. But make no mistake, beneath the surface, Harry's military training was on high alert. The subtle shift in his grip on the rifle, the nearly imperceptible tightening of his jaw, spoke volumes. Drunk Pikachu, emboldened by the laughter, shuffled closer. His eyes gleamed with a cocktail of arrogance and ignorance, the kind that screams, "I paid for this vacation, so everything here is mine to mock." He gestured toward Harry's bearskin hat. "Hey, mate, what's this thing made of? A rug from your nan's house? Bet it's itchy. Let me feel it." At this point, a young woman in the crowd stepped forward, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Sir, maybe you should stop," she said, her voice strained with politeness. He's a soldier, not a tourist attraction. But Pikachu waved her off with the kind of bravado that only comes from alcohol and unchecked entitlement. "Relax, sweetheart, he's fine. That's his job, innit? Stand there and look pretty for us tourists, like a mannequin, furniture with a funny hat." The crowd's mood shifted. Some still giggled nervously, but others looked appalled. A few began murmuring disapproval, their indignation mounting. Meanwhile, Harry stood tall, his every muscle a testament to self-control. The tension was palpable, a storm brewing in the air. And then it happened. Drunk Pikachu reached out, his hand hovering dangerously close to Harry's uniform. The collective intake of breath from the crowd was sharp enough to cut glass. The guardsman didn't move, but his eyes, cold, calculating, locked onto the man's, sending an unspoken warning, "Don't test me." Yet, as with all fools, Pikachu saw the moment as a challenge. He grinned and leaned in closer. "What happens if I—" A voice from the crowd interrupted sharply. "Stop it, you idiot!" It was the young woman again, her tone now brimming with anger. But the drunkard merely chuckled, his arrogance unshaken. After all, in his mind he wasn't just a man in a costume, he was the star of his own show. What he didn't realize was that this show was about to take a dramatic turn. The murmurs started softly, a ripple of unease through the crowd, as the drunkard's antics edged from irritating to outright disrespectful. His Pikachu costume, a once funny joke, now felt more like an emblem of everything wrong with modern tourism. With a theatrical flourish, he dug into his pocket, producing a handful of coins. The crowd collectively winced, already sensing his next move. "Here's a tip for standing so still, mate," he slurred, flinging the coins at Harry's feet with the gusto of a man who believed himself to be hilarious. The clink of metal on stone echoed, each sound more grating than the last. "Don't spend it all in one place," he added with a lopsided grin, swaying dangerously. Harry didn't flinch. Of course he didn't. His jaw tightened, his gaze fixed straight ahead. He was a fortress against foolishness, a bastion of dignity in the face of chaos. But that slight tension in his stance, a minuscule shift, hinted at the storm he held back. Reactions from the onlookers split like a cracked mirror. A few chuckled nervously, unsure whether to find the spectacle funny or horrifying. Others, like an older man in a flat cap, were less conflicted. "Leave him alone," the man barked, his voice cutting through the crowd like a whip. "Have some respect." But respect was a foreign concept to the drunken Pikachu. He turned, wobbling, and gave a mocking bow. "Respect for this guy?" He gestured broadly toward Harry. "He's furniture, a mannequin with a fancy hat." The crowd gasped as he stumbled forward, crossing an invisible boundary known to everyone but him. It wasn't just an unspoken rule, it was practically sacred. But this buffoon, buoyed by entitlement and cider, couldn't care less. He waved his hand near Harry's face, daring to breach the guardsman's personal space. "Hey, mate," he sneered, his breath reeking of alcohol. "What happens if I do this?" He leaned closer, inches from Harry, his hand hovering dangerously. The tension in the air was electric, the kind of pressure that makes your chest tighten. "Stop it, you idiot!" snapped the young woman from earlier, her voice sharp with anger. She pushed forward, her cheeks flushed, but the man only laughed, a grating sound that grated against the nerves of everyone present. And then, just the faintest flicker of movement from Harry, barely perceptible. A shift in his grip on the rifle, but to those paying attention it was a clear warning. The line had been crossed. What happened next would not be what the drunkard expected. As the man's hand darted forward toward Harry's uniform, the guardsman finally moved. With a swift, calculated step, Harry shifted his rifle, creating a barrier between himself and the drunkard. His voice, deep and commanding, shattered the silence. "Step back immediately." The man froze, his drunken bravado crumbling under the weight of Harry's authority. The crowd erupted into gasps and murmurs. Harry's unwavering glare pierced through the man's hazy confidence, making it clear that he was no mere prop in a tourist photo. The commotion attracted another guardsman on patrol and a nearby police officer. The officer quickly intervened, placing a firm hand on the man's shoulder. "That's enough? You're coming with me," the officer said, his tone brooking no argument. As the man was escorted away, the crowd began to applaud. Someone even shouted, "Well done, guard!" Harry, however, returned to his post without a hint of acknowledgement, adjusting his stance as if nothing had happened. But the young woman wasn't done. She stepped forward, addressing Harry directly. "Thank you for standing your ground. He deserved that," she said, her voice sincere. Though Harry couldn't respond, a flicker of appreciation passed through his otherwise stoic eyes. News of the incident spread quickly, with multiple tourists uploading videos of the confrontation. Social media buzzed with praise for Harry's composure and professionalism, turning him into an unwitting internet hero. Headlines read, "Royal Guard teaches drunken tourist a lesson in respect," and "Discipline over disrespect, a guardsman's poised response." Meanwhile, the Pikachu man became the subject of ridicule, his face plastered across memes and hashtags like #RespectTheGuard and #DrunkenPikachu. The embarrassment seemed to be punishment enough. though the police issued him a fine for disorderly conduct. Back at the palace, Harry continued his duties without any visible change, though his fellow guards acknowledged the event with subtle nods of respect. To Harry, the attention meant little. His role was never about fame. Yet, the moment served as a reminder to many about the importance of honoring tradition and respecting those who uphold it. As the day wound down and the crowds began to thin, Harry adjusted his bearskin hat, standing tall as ever. The young woman who had defended him earlier lingered nearby, giving him a small wave before leaving. Harry's resolve never wavered, but a faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, so fleeting that only the setting sun bore witness.